USS Houston was called the Galloping Ghost for escaping what others could not. Then one night in 1942, her luck finally shattered. Midnight in the Sunda Strait, searchlights cut the dark, torpedo tracks crossed the water, and two Allied cruisers tried to force a path while Japanese destroyers closed in. USS Houston's final stand left hundreds lost. Her wreck is still coveted and scarred by illegal salvagers. What do the scars on metal and memory prove about Houston's last minutes, and why does her war grave remain at risk? Some visuals may be representative if original footage is limited. Albert Rooks took command of USS Houston in 1941, inheriting a ship already known for her spirit and resilience. Houston sailed as the flagship of the Asiatic fleet, carrying not just the weight of her crew, but the hopes of Americans watching the conflict unfold in the Pacific. Newspapers called her the Galloping Ghost of the Java Coast, a nod to an uncanny record of surviving attacks that doomed other ships. That reputation was earned in the first desperate months of 1942, when Japanese bombers swept over the Java Sea almost daily. On February 4th, 37 enemy bombers dove in waves, and Rooks ordered radical turns and evasive maneuvers. Houston's gunners shot down 4 planes in a single attack, and the ship escaped with heavy damage but still afloat. The crew patched turrets and decks at anchor, then sailed back into combat with barely a pause. Rooks himself became a symbol of that determination. He was wounded by shrapnel during the Makassar Strait air raid, but he refused evacuation. His Medal of Honor citation would later describe conspicuous gallantry. Those words echo through every survivor's account. Under Rooks, Houston pressed on even as Allied forces retreated, her name appearing in radio reports that often claimed she had been sunk, only for the Ghost to reappear, battered but fighting. For the men aboard, pride in the ship and faith in their captain became a shield against exhaustion and fear. Yet as the Japanese Navy tightened its hold around Java, even the Galloping Ghost's luck began to look thin. Houston limped toward the Sunda Strait, carrying scars from weeks of battle. The February 4th air raid had left one of her main turrets disabled, its armor warped and its guns silent. Deck plates bore fresh welds from hurried dockyard work at Tanjung Priok, where crews raced to patch shrapnel holes and restore power to damaged systems. But time and materials were always in short supply. Houston's ammunition magazines, never fully restocked after the Java Sea fighting, now held only what could be scavenged from battered supply dumps. Gunners counted each shell, knowing the next fight would not wait for resupply. Fuel stores ran low, forcing strict rationing and tense calculations about how far the engines could carry them. In the engine rooms and galleys, sailors improvised repairs with whatever scrap they could find, sometimes using spare parts meant for different ships, sometimes relying on nothing more than wire and determination. The crew's exhaustion showed in every movement, but discipline held. Watches doubled up to cover sick or wounded men. Mess cooks worked through the night to keep coffee and bread coming. Officers and enlisted alike understood the risk. The next sortie could be the last. Still, orders came to make for the strait. Intelligence was thin, but the alternative, waiting for the enemy to strike in port, offered no safety. Houston's battered hull and weary crew pressed on. Each man was aware that their ship was running out of both ammunition and luck as they approached the dark, narrow waters ahead. 11:15 p.m. on February 28, 1942, Houston and Perth entered the mouth of Sunda Strait, steering west at high speed. Darkness cloaked the water, and the channel ahead narrowed to less than 5 miles across. To port, the coast of Java loomed close. To starboard, the lights of Japanese transports anchored in Bantan Bay flickered through the haze, a silent warning that the enemy was already ashore. Allied intelligence had not confirmed the full scale of the Japanese landing, but the reality was unmistakable. Nearly 30 troop ships, ringed by destroyers and heavy cruisers, blocked the only escape route to the Indian Ocean. The two Allied cruisers advanced in column, Perth leading and Houston astern. Their formation was tight, but they faced a wall of steel. Rear Admiral Takagi's Western Attack Force waited with the cruisers Mogami and Mikuma, supported by at least 7 destroyers, including Fubuki, Harukaze, and Shirayuki. The Japanese had deployed their escorts in a crescent between the anchored transports and the southern exit of the strait, overlapping fields of fire and torpedo arcs. Any attempt to break through would force Houston and Perth to run a gauntlet at close range. Gauntlet sums the danger. The geography left no room for maneuver. The strait's tidal currents pressed from the north, and the moon, nearly 3/4 full, had risen just an hour earlier, reflecting off the water and exposing silhouettes to enemy searchlights. Japanese destroyers, armed with Type 93 long lance torpedoes, held the angles, ready to fire spreads across every likely path. Allied charts offered no safe passage. Every course, west or south, crossed into the teeth of the Japanese screen. By the time Houston opened fire at 12,000 yards, both ships were trapped inside a shrinking box, outnumbered and outflanked with no way to turn back. Trapped states the tactical picture. Torpedo tracks sliced through the moonlit water as Houston fought alone, engines straining against the tide and the weight of her wounds. The first torpedo struck near the engine room just after midnight, sending a shudder through the hull and flooding compartments deep below deck. Steam and smoke poured from ruptured pipes. Within minutes, a second and a third torpedo found their marks, one tearing open the port side amidships, the other slamming aft. The ship's speed dropped sharply and steering grew sluggish as seawater poured in. Engineering crews scrambled to keep power flowing, working by flashlight in knee-deep water. Above, searchlights swept the decks, and Japanese destroyers closed in, raking the superstructure with machine gun fire. On the bridge, Captain Albert Rooks was struck down by shell fragments, killed instantly at his post. Command devolved to the next in line as the ship's list increased. Main batteries had fired their last armor-piercing rounds. Gunners loaded star shells and high explosive, anything left in the ready racks. As the list worsened, the order to abandon ship was given. Men leapt into the black water as a final torpedo struck, splitting the hull near the stern. Houston rolled to port and capsized, her battle flag still flying, and a lone Marine fired a .50 caliber machine gun until the water rose above him. Of the 1,061 aboard, hundreds went into the sea as the Galloping Ghost slipped beneath the surface. The fight finished in less than 20 minutes. Of the 1,061 men who sailed aboard Houston into the Sunda Strait, only 368 survived the sinking and were taken prisoner. The ordeal did not end in the water. Captured near Bantan Bay, they faced years in Japanese prison camps across Java, Singapore, and the jungles of Burma and Thailand. Disease, starvation, and forced labor claimed lives even after the guns fell silent. 33 of Houston's survivors died building the Burma Railway, hacking through dense jungle with little food and no medicine. By the time Japan surrendered in 1945, 83 Houston crewmen had perished in captivity. The toll extended far beyond the battle, each name recorded in prisoner of war rosters. Each loss a reminder that the ship's story continued in the darkness of the camps and along the tracks of the railway. Beneath the busy waters near Bantan Bay, the remains of USS Houston rest in silt and shadow. Their story is now told by multi-beam sonar and remotely operated vehicles and by robotic cameras lowered to the seabed. Maritime archaeologists from the United States and Indonesia have mapped the site, tracing the scars left by battle and matching those scars to accounts from the night of Sunda Strait. The hull lies upright, but torn plating along the starboard side matches the size and placement of torpedo impact survivors described. Large sections of steel are missing, and the pattern shows recent removal rather than wartime breakage. Clean cuts and open gaps point to salvage crews targeting valuable metal. The bridge area, once the ship's nerve center, shows collapsed superstructure and exposed decks. Oil still seeps from ruptured tanks, a slow-motion echo of the night she sank. Each survey pass adds detail to the forensic record, explosive tears from torpedoes, decades of corrosion, and growing evidence of human interference. The wreck is a protected war grave, and the urgent question is how to preserve the evidence and the memory before the sea or people erase more of it. Houston's wreck is more than rusting steel, it is a protected war grave, still threatened by illegal salvage today. As relics vanish from the seabed, the real loss is memory. Safeguarding these sites now means honoring the truth and the sacrifice before both are gone. Share your thoughts below.